My name is Aaron Ladd, host of the Chiefs Squad Show. And who is that I see off in the distance? If I rub my eyes closely, is that Falcons legend Marcus Mariota coming back into Arrowhead Stadium? My goodness.
Debo and Terry ready to go, but the key is stopping Bill this week.
What's up, Chiefs fans? It's JC Pearson, and with Jayden Daniels officially out, do the Chiefs have anything to worry about with that old Falcon legend, Marcus Mariota?
Hey, this is Darren Smith, and look, the Chiefs are 12.5-point favorites. Is Vegas trying to tip us off on something, or is this a trap game for the Chiefs?
Chiefs Kingdom, stand up. It's the Chiefs Squad. Everything Kansas City Chiefs every week. Breaking down all the big hits and game-changing plays from Arrowhead Stadium, the way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. Squad up. The Chiefs Squad Show starts now.
All right, appreciate you joining us for a new episode of the Chiefs Squad Show. Aaron Ladd, Darren Smith, Ryan Tracy, JC Pearson here breaking down everything you can expect ahead of Monday Night Football. Kansas City has won 4 of their last 5 and look to win 3 in a row. Remember, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. If your bet wins, you get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Here's what our everydayers can expect in today's episode. You got a little taste of it before. Jayden Daniels is down. Marcus Mariota starts for Washington. We will get you prepared on what you can expect on the former Heisman Trophy winner ahead of Monday Night Football. The Chiefs playing on another time and a new date in prime time once again. We'll kind of talk about how Andy Reid and staff prepare these moving targets and what they do at One Arrowhead Way to make sure Patrick Mahomes and company are primed to play their best ball when the lights come on. We will shine our spotlight on some under-the-radar stars for Kansas City and the Commanders ahead of this matchup, some guys that may make an impact on this game, and then finally the NFL trade deadline 2 weeks away. We will look at maybe some names Brett Veach has on his board. We appreciate you making us your first listen here on the Locked On Podcast Network. And with no further ado, let's get into our first topic. Marcus Mariota starts for the Washington Commanders. It was a quote-unquote minor hamstring injury for Jayden Daniels, but if you're ruled out before we even start practicing for the week, to me, that's a bad sign. Ryan, you lead us off on this one. What's your expectations for Marcus Mariota in prime time?
You know, I think Marcus is a guy that's kind of flown under the radar, and he has had moments of good performance in this league. I do think he is somebody that team looks like to, you know, the older uncle, the guy that can solidify the ship, right? And especially if you're going to get some weapons back, let Unc cook. Let's see what they spool up for him. I think it's more about him and his coordinator than it is about him and his receivers. That's what I'm not sure of, because I'm not 100% bought in that the pass game is all going to be there for Marcus Mariota to really kind of take the reins and run with. You want to set him up, and I think that they've got a couple of chinks in the arm that Chiefs are going to be able to exploit.
JC, what do you think about Marcus Mariota and the Chiefs facing a backup in this primetime matchup?
Well, I don't think Marcus Mariota can beat the Chiefs unless the Chiefs help Marcus Mariota beat the Chiefs. So with that being said, as long as the Chiefs don't turn the ball over, give up some special team scores, Marcus Mariota is not going to come in here and beat him. He might be getting a couple weapons back, obviously, and if Debo comes back, then he's their prime guy, the guy to stop. They don't have much of a rushing attack. Last week, both of their quarterbacks were their leading rushers, or 2 leading rushers, both of those guys. So, and he was down a lot of weapons. So, if he gets, Debo back and, who's the other guy?
Lauren.
That was out. Lauren, yeah, whatever. Yeah, might be able to make some plays, but I don't think he'll be able to make enough plays to get a win on Monday night.
So far, the panel is very unimpressed by the former Oregon Duck. What do you think, Darren?
I guess I have to make it a clean sweep. I mean, to be quite honest, seriously, when you look at this game, it teeters on what we could have put, what we could potentially see that we saw Sunday against the Raiders. I mean, there's a reason why, obviously, with Jayden Daniels being out, Vegas has them initially at 10.5-point favorites. Now they're 12.5-point favorites. So, this could be, a situation where Andy, if the Chiefs get up early, would end up pulling the players out in the third quarter like he did against the Raiders, because when just based off of what Ryan and JC said, I mean, who do they really have with Washington? I mean, they were able to put up 22 in a losing effort to Dallas, but you got players going down, like flies with injuries. Again, Deebo Samuels went out in that game. I don't expect him to play in Monday night's game. Now, generally, when you play Kansas City, players miraculously get healthy and and somehow end up on the field. But for the sheer fact, as you mentioned, Aaron, that Marcus is out before they even had the first practice week, says a whole lot about his injury.
Yeah, JC, go on, hop in there.
I'm
We're
surprised
talking about Marcus Mariota.
Yeah, I'm surprised that Washington has already said that Jayden Daniels is out. Even if he's not going to play, why announce it so early?
Yeah, you could have waited till Saturday.
Make the Chiefs think that he's going to play. Make the Chiefs prepare for him. Yeah, and say he's questionable or whatever, but why rule him out, so early in the week? And now, the Chiefs prepare for just Marcus Mariota. Make those guys, that's kind of strange, and teams don't normally do that. So that was kind of odd to me. And then with it being a minor strain, it was even more odd to me that Jayden Daniels is willing to be out. Yeah, exactly. But if it is a serious strain or a pull, why announce that he's out? Hey, we're gonna see every day this week how he develops, how he comes along. Make the Chiefs think he's gonna play.
Yeah, usually you see some teams issue some sort of gamesmanship there. I know Lamar, when he first got hurt, he was down with the hamstring strain as well. It was kind of the similar, like, he's minor, he's day-to-day, we'll monitor it, and then all of a sudden, 4 weeks later, we see the guys just now practicing for the first time. I'll give a few more numbers on Mariota, because this will be his 4th appearance so far this year. Jayden Daniels has been in and out of the lineup in his sophomore season, put up 41 points in his first start, of course, against those lackluster Las Vegas Raiders, but then came back down to earth a little bit against the Atlanta Falcons, 27 points against the defense who's 2nd in yards allowed and 8th in points allowed. Kansas City, top 5 in both of those categories. Ryan, I want to get you back in here. Seems like for Marcus Mariota, you control his legs. Maybe you move him off his first read. He turns into a below average quarterback, and Steve Spagnuolo's unit does that to a lot of guys.
They do. And this thing, especially with the announcement, it makes Steve Spagnuolo's job easier. There's a couple of things that have to happen. You have to win the right-hand side of that offensive line. You have to destroy it. Josh Connerly, the rookie for the Commanders, is not prepared to go against George Karlaftis. This should be a Karlaftis coming out game. If they get that, it super simplifies everything, and you can move Chris around, let Chris Jones attack wherever he feels like he wants to be. And the other thing that it does is it simplifies what they have to do. Without Daniels on there, yes, Mariota can scramble, especially downhill. I don't think you have to worry about him trying to get to the edge or outrun you horizontally and really exploit that portion of it. But for me, that means you don't have to spy anymore, which I think had to be in the game plan last week. So it allows Spags a lot more variability about what he wants to do, not what he has to do to defend the Commanders.
JC, you played in this league. Has there ever been a game where they rule out the starting quarterback 5 days before the game starts and the game plan changes? Give us kind of the player's perspective on what it's like when you're preparing for the backup versus preparing for the starter.
Well, obviously, like Ryan said, if you know who's playing, then you can prepare for his skills, his talents. But when you don't know, you got to prepare for the starters and what he does and the backup. So it, like Ryan said, it makes their job a lot easier. I don't remember if it's a quote unquote minor injury that they will rule a guy out, a quarterback, a receiver, a run, anybody that's a significant player, that they would rule them out so early. Normally they'll just say, hey, we're taking it day by day, that gamesmanship, just to make a team think he's going to be out there, whoever that guy is, so that they've got to prepare for that guy. And, if he's not here, this guy will be in and he does this well. It just takes a few extra minutes out of every practice, every team period, every meeting, things like that. Just that gamesmanship, anything you can do to take away from their preparation or make them prepare for something that you're not going to do is a benefit to you. So really strange that they announced it so early in the week.
Darren, you worried about Jayden Daniels? Because he had a hell of a rookie season, one of the best rookie seasons ever. Are we starting to worry about him being in and out?
Yeah, you should. I mean, and of course, I don't think Miss Jackson's going to be in town this weekend, so I can't take her to Gates.
Come
So
on, man.
that's very disappointing about that. But to your point, though, seriously. But to your point about Jayden,
Wait, hold on, man. What? Miss
Wait, come
Jackson.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He got it all.
Jaden's
He's
mama.
not focused.
Yeah, wait,
He's not
hold on.
locked in.
What is it?
Jaden's mama,
Is he
man.
dating Janet Jackson?
No, that's
Huh?
his mama. That's his mama.
Is he dating Janet Jackson?
No,
His
no.
mom is Miss Jackson.
Yeah, that's her name. Yeah.
You had me
man,
at
come on,
Gates,
man.
so that's all.
You gotta pay attention, man. Come on, JC. You gotta pay attention.
Yeah,
to
me
this
and
kind
Miss
of stuff.
Jackson. I'm like, what Miss Jackson are you talking about? Okay.
So, but
His
to your
mom
point,
goes
though,
to all the games, doesn't she?
well, yeah, that he's
And
playing,
Juju
yeah.
Watkins. I think we've seen Juju Watkins at the games from time to
Yeah, I
time
don't think
now.
she know this one.
Try to get him.
I don't think she
try to
covered
get him
this
back
one.
on track.
Yeah, but no, but to your point about Jayden, there were a lot of talk about him, coming to the league, about his frame and the size and whether or not he was going to be able to withstand a lot of these injuries. And yeah, granted, when he was at LSU, I think his senior season, I think his junior season, he was fine. I'm not sure. I think the year before he was kind of injury prone. So, his frame, like last year, I don't think he missed any games his rookie season. But for him to be, but he's taken a lot of hits and he's had little nagging injuries that have built up. And again, like you said, the strain or the strain that he has right now. The head coach said last week that he wanted to go back into the game against the Dallas Cowboys, but they decided to sit him. So again, I question the severity of this minor strain that they say that he has, because if he felt that he was fine enough to go into the game last week that they lost to the Cowboys, did it get worse or whatever, over the next few days to where they had to rule him out. So, yes, I do think that this is a sign of things to come, because without him, they're going to fall further down in their division, which gives the Cowboys and perhaps even the Giants a chance to go, to jump over him.
The best ability in the NFL is
Yeah,
availability, and Jayden Daniels is learning that the hard way. JC, I'll pass it to you because I don't really have much here other than this is a team that when he plays, they're very tough to beat. And right now they're going through a lot of injuries, and maybe they're going to be a lot easier to beat now that he's not out there.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too is their record. I mean, they're coming in 3-4. They need to win. They got beat handily by the Cowboys last week, and so you would think that if there was any chance that your starter could go in and play, that you're going to play him, because they lose this game, and it's tough on them in that division. So I don't know. I got to think that he's a lot more seriously injured than they're letting on.
Ryan, take us home here on Jayden Daniels, Marcus Mariota, and quarterback play for the Commanders.
I think the people that lose the most are the guys that are trying to make a comeback and trying to find their feet this season in Deebo Samuel and Terry McLaurin. You never know. And I said this on a radio hit the other day, because it's about what happens when they're on the field together. And I don't know that you can equate what Mariota's done before. So you got to give him a little bit of respect and play them as hard as you can. I feel like the Chiefs secondary is starting to come around where they're feeling their oats a little bit. And Deebo's a different guy. And if he is 100%, you got to give that some respect too. But I believe that the way that they're able to scheme this up, especially without having to have a spy, they're going to be able to take away those weapons, make Mariota have to make either short window throws that he's got to get the ball out, or he's going to have to use his legs. In either of those situations, I feel like you have the advantage. And that's the way that you have to go about trying to put pressure on him at that point, if you can slow down his thought process.
Let's hope for no receiving touchdowns from Marcus Mariota as he enters as the starter into Monday Night Football. For Kansas City, it's another primetime matchup on a different day at a different time. That's no sweat for the Kansas City staff. We'll talk about how they kind of prepare for those different primetime games as the Chiefs Squad Show continues here on the Locked On Podcast Network right after this. All right, remember this episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer that you absolutely do not want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right, pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. It makes watching football even more exciting when you've got a little something riding on the action. Whether you're a casual fan or love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com and download the FanDuel app today to get started. All right, we're back in on the Chiefs Squad Show on our midweek regular day, regular time. Aaron Ladd, your host here, joined by Darren Smith, Ryan Tracy, and JC Pearson, looking ahead to this Monday night football game. Darren, I want to go to you first and foremost because you've ridden this roller coaster with the Kansas City Chiefs for how long? How long you been covering the team? You said 1980s, 1970?
1993.
1993. So you've seen Christmas games, you've seen Mondays, you've seen Thursdays, you've seen Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon. How does Kansas City kind of master these prime time logistics to make sure the players see it as the same week, same time, and they don't ride the wave as much? They can kind of go out there and perform their best whenever the game is.
So it does differ, and I know JC can speak on it towards, the different coaches and I guess you can call it administration, so to speak. But with Andy, it obviously it's picked up a lot since they've gotten Patrick Mahomes, where essentially, him being the top player in the NFL, the NFL wants him all, on all across all platforms and days and nights, depending on the network, depending on the holiday. And so, just like the Dallas Cowboys, they are ratings gold, so to speak. And so, going from Sunday to a Monday night game, essentially, and JC, you can correct me, I guess, as a player, but I think they come in on Monday just to get treatment and stuff. But now with the players CBA, I believe they have Tuesday off, and then because you have to give them one day off. And I think because it's a Monday night game, I think Andy gives them an extra day off that Wednesday, and then of course they come in Thursday, Friday, Saturday practice. They're essentially off on Sunday, and I don't know if it's here whether or not the players have to go to a team hotel in the evening time, and then since it's a Monday night game, I'm not sure how the logistics of that part works out. But for the most part, they have 3 consecutive days of practice, but they do get the mandatory day off. And when you have a Monday night game, you get an extra day off.
Yeah, you want to try to keep it uniform every week. You have the same number of practice days. You work on the same things. Sometimes on a Monday night you have an extra day, so you might have an extra day to come in and for treatment, watch some film. You may do some other things on that extra day, or he may just give it to you completely off. But you want to keep every week uniform so that you know exactly what we do Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and on a Monday night case, it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Sunday would be like Saturday, and then Monday would be game day like Sunday. So you just want to keep it the same, and this group is so used to prime time. I would worry more about them playing a noon game than I would a primetime Monday night game, because those noon games can get kind of boring and early, and you're not used to that. You're used to the lights and the prime time, so I'm not worried about that at all with these guys.
And to that point, Aaron, there was a lot of talk about them having the noon game this past week against the Raiders because it had been so long since they've actually played.
That game deserved a new start based on the result. That game absolutely deserved a new start.
Yeah, so I mean, so when JC says that, I mean, and think about it. Yesterday was a mandatory day off, but here in Kansas City last night, Patrick Mahomes had his gala, his 15th Mahomes gala, and then today, like Andy meets with the press the day after the game or the Monday or whatever, as we did this week. And but when they have a short week, so to speak, when they come off the bye, against the Buffalo Bills, they'll take on the Denver Broncos in Denver. Then the following Sunday, they'll host the Indianapolis Colts. Well, after that game, you have the Thursday game against the Dallas Cowboys on Thanksgiving. So essentially, they still have to have that one day off. But everything is so. I think they'll still get. Well, I don't know, JC. I don't know if they get that Tuesday off leading to Thursday, or because I know they'll come in on Monday.
So they play Sunday. They'll come in Monday and do film all that, loosen up, that kind of stuff.
Well, they'll also talk to the
They'll
media
get
too.
off.
So yeah, I think So
Yeah,
actually, I think
yeah.
I think they will.
And then they won't have a mandatory before, because they'll be off on Friday. You just have to be off one day during the week.
Yeah.
So typically it's Tuesday, but if you're playing on Thursday, you're off on Friday.
And
and that's your day off.
And normally
So
what will
you'll have
happen,
Friday,
especially since they're
Saturday,
playing on
Sunday.
Thanksgiving, I think they'll be off that Friday all the way through. Probably that next Tuesday they'll be off. Andy will give them that
Yeah.
that extended break off
If
before
they
they have
win.
to come back and play.
Victory
Ryan,
Monday.
jump in here on this conversation. What does it say that Kansas City can kind of take these moving targets? Obviously, Monday Night Football is not maybe a Thursday night, or maybe kind of the strain of going to a Brazil or a Berlin or things like we've seen them do in the past. But what does it say that Andy and his staff can kind of keep the calm, keep the peace, keep the blinders on, and make sure that Mahomes and company can just go out there and play their best ball?
I mean, I don't want to minimize it, but to JC's point, this is normal. This isn't out of the ordinary. Getting up at noon, getting up early to be ready to play at noon is the hard part, right? I think honestly, the emphasis is about making sure that you got your nutrition, you got your rest. That's all good. I don't think the players have the hardest time with that. I think it's about making sure that you have the game plan in an effectual way. You're not second guessing. You're not leaving yourself extra time because you got an extra day to overthink it and things like that. I think Allen Wright in this situation is a prime guy that nobody talks about, because he's got to get everything ready for that little extra shine on everything that gets them there. I think the players have the easiest part. You get to sleep in a little bit later. You get to show up, see the lights. I think the only thing that you worry about with the players is the young ones, the guys who haven't been here before. And honestly, we're 7 games into the season. They got an idea already. It's not like they're newbies anymore. So I think at this point forward, they start to get used to the flow, and I think it becomes the expectation.
Darren, you gave voice to it. Not only did Mahomes have his gala, but I saw Travis Kelce with the annual Operation Breakthrough. It's really cool to see the guys. You have one day, you got 24 hours that you wouldn't normally have during a typical Sunday game week. Use that to be impactful in the community. Like the Chiefs, yes, are a national, global team. They're a huge scale. Mahomes is one of the biggest stars in the league. They're still using the time to give back to Kansas City and take the time to thank those who continually come out and show for them. As the fans, I thought that's really cool. Another thing that I also continue to hear during these like Monday or weird time games or like off from a Sunday game is that they do use a little portion of the practices to look ahead. So, right, with playing on a Monday, you automatically have a shorter week going into the next week with Sunday. They're using this practice time and even time going back to like St. Joe and little times before, where they install game plans looking ahead. JC, maybe you can answer this, where it's like, all right, we got like 5 plays here. Let's look ahead and preview to Buffalo. Or like, yeah, Jayden Daniels is typically a scrambler. This applies to not only him. I know he's not playing in this game. This applies to him and Mariota, but it also applies to Josh Allen when we see him on the short week. Is it possible that part of this preparation and getting teams ahead and making sure that they're ready not only for this week, but they also throw in slivers looking ahead to the rest of the schedule?
Well, they may throw in some plays that Buffalo runs and that kind of stuff, but they won't say that this is what Buffalo runs. They don't want the players looking past this week. You take one game at a time, focus on Washington, and then next week we'll go 100% on Buffalo. But if they've got some extra time this week, they may have another period where they're putting in some different stuff or looking at some different things, but they won't say that, hey, this is a Bills period, or this is what Buffalo's going to run next week. They won't do that. They may sneak those in, but it's all about Washington right now in terms of what they're talking about. But mentally, they might throw some other things in without calling them Buffalo plays.
I think our everydayers know on this show that we try to talk about coaching and how coaches mold with what the team needs. And I think that Andy Reid has just got a really good pulse on like how to keep his team reared up and ready to go, even if he's not expressly doing it and telling them what he's doing. I think that's what makes him one of the best coaches, that he keeps his team prepared. I don't know where you're
and Aaron, to your point, look, Andy Reid, because he's done this for so long, especially with the different days and travel stuff that they've done. I mean, he's so used to it that once the schedule comes out in May, they pretty much already know what their schedule is going to be throughout the week, because they prepare for it. Now, obviously, there was obviously situations with COVID where you didn't know if games were going to be played, and then they had to be moved around and stuff like that. But essentially last year, showed that, the Chiefs had to be, ready for anything, because they played, I think, on every day of the week except for either Wednesday or Tuesday last year. So, so because they had that experience last year, this year, they're better prepared for it. And last year, they were able to pretty much run the gauntlet, going 15 and 1 or 16 and 1, 16 and 2, 15 and 2 in the regular season, and now, so for them to be able to just mirror the schedules and workouts that they did last year is pretty easy for them.
Well, I think the intensity level is managed by the big players as well.
Yeah,
Mahomes, Kelce, Jones, Bolton. I mean, they're going to set that tempo and set that expectation. So I think while Andy Reid is certainly at the head of the ship, I think he delegates pretty well, from everything that I hear, pretty consistently down to the players providing that motivation. And I think that's the group effort that you see on Mondays.
And if you think about it, the players have garnered enough trust where Andy doesn't have to worry about that 3 a.m. phone call. Really, because what the last time they had a situation like that was, I think, the year with Kareem, and then maybe, of course, the situation ended up not being true with Tyreek. But I think other than that, they really haven't had any 3 a.m. phone calls that he's had to worry about.
Let's knock on wood with that one. You jinxed it around here, Darren. Come on.
No, ain't nobody. I mean, just facts are facts. I mean, the players that have earned the trust. I mean, because it all starts from Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes on down. So they know the do's and the don'ts, and thus far they haven't done the don'ts. So
let's hope that Patrick Mahomes and Troy Aikman get on the phone during the pre-production calls. We don't need any. We don't need any beef in the booth this week. Did y'all see that with Caleb Williams last week?
The man said he was still practicing or something, man, and it got late. But I don't know. But didn't Caleb say he called him and he was asleep or something, or it didn't go through, or what? What happened with that?
This is another part of the Chiefs, like the logistics, that I think that they're really good at. I don't think that it's a phone call in Kansas City. I think they actually meet face to face, because I've seen, we've been out at practice before and seen the broadcast team walk out with the rest of the media. Like, I think they do a good job of just squashing all that, taking it all off everybody's plate. If y'all want to talk to us, come to practice. We'll handle it in person. No phone call, no phone tag, anything like that. We don't want anything. Let's just handle our business in a very professional manner and move on with it.
Yeah, I mean,
but sometimes sometimes they do phone calls or Zooms with the away team, and that's kind of when they're lazy and not coming in town the day before, or whatever, or coming in late, and Troy and those guys get kind of complacent a little bit, and I don't say that. I say that because I worked with them for a while, so they're they get kind of pampered, and
you got pampered too, JC. Always, we used to work for Fox. I mean, you got pampered too now, because you was calling you was calling college football and NFL games.
Hey man,
so you know the life.
Hey man, but we're talking about Troy and Joe right now, right?
Yeah, right. He says levels to his levels to this.
Yeah, right. Come on, man. You gotta bring me into it. But yeah, so sometimes they may do it by phone as well, when they get lazy or whatever the case may be. So I don't know exactly the specifics of what happened with Caleb and all that, but it's always best to do it in person, but sometimes they don't always do that.
Also, how much info do you need? I kind of get, like, if you're covering a Chiefs game, if you're broadcasting a Chiefs game for the 6th time in the last, year and a, like, how many more conversations can we really have?
Yeah,
over
because
the same
look,
thing?
we thought thinking about it. What
Right.
Romo and Jim Nance, they did like 8 games either last year or the year before. So it was like, you don't have to fly in all the time. You can do via Zoom, because I mean, what more are you going to learn by being there that you didn't learn the week before when you called the game?
Right. That's true, and that's fair. But you try to ask questions specifically about this week, whether that you have that relationship where they're going to give you information or not. it just depends on your individual relationship with the coaches and the players. Some do and some don't. I had some that would give me great information, and some that I got into it with because they wouldn't. But that's another story for another show. But yeah, and but after you've done them a few times, things don't change that much.
Nah, I want to hear that. Let's save that story for the end of the episode and put a bow on that one. JC Pearson talking about his broadcast days. Let's take a quick break here on the Chiefs Squad Show. When we come back, we'll talk about some under the radar stars or players that can make an impact on Monday Night Football. Stick with us. We'll join you right after this.
I'm Cody Rourke from Locked On Broncos, and this episode is brought to you by Peloton. Peloton is shaping the future of fitness with the brand new Peloton Cross-Training Tread Plus, powered by Peloton IQ. This is Peloton's most advanced equipment yet, giving you real-time guidance and endless ways to move, whether you're running, lifting, or you're cross-training with your favorite instructors like Alex Toussaint. It's training reimagined to make your workout more personal. Peloton is built for breakthroughs with features that help you plan, stay motivated, and hit peak performance. You can let yourself run, lift, flex, and go while Peloton handles all the rest. Plus, Peloton IQ provides real-time strength coaching, tracking your progress and suggesting weights that challenge you so you can get stronger. Plus, the new movement tracking camera, it counts your reps and corrects your form in real time, making sure every rep is safer and smarter. So let yourself run, lift, flex, push, and go. Explore the new Peloton Cross-Training Tread Plus at onepeloton.com.
All right, we are back in on the Chiefs Squad Show on a Wednesday. Aaron Ladd, Darren Smith, Ryan Tracy, and JC Pearson previewing Monday Night Football. We appreciate our everydayers for making us their first listen. I just wanted to shine my spotlight on a guy who's maybe making an impact in my favorite unit. I love take your shot if you have your Chiefs Squad Show bingo card out there. We mentioned the Chiefs running back room in an episode. And my guy that I want to talk about is Brashard Smith. He got 19 touches on Sunday against the Raiders, 39 rushing yards, 42 receiving yards, about 4.2 yards per touch. Let's start with Ryan on this one. What could Brashard Smith bring not only to the running back room, but maybe just the pass catchers in general as Kansas City's offense hits another gear here?
It is that gear, that 6th, 7th. What do vets have? 8, 10 gears now? Like, hit that top one. Let's go. That's what he has. And as much as you like to see Xavier exploit defensive with speed, you got to do it from the backfield as well. And I am one that has been really crying out for more of him in more varied roles. Now, to give him credit, I didn't expect him that kind of yardage inside the tackles like he did last week. Now, that game was out of control, and I admit that. But I think that was the most encouraging thing for me, because I thought that was one of the gaps that kept him from being a complete back that you could plug into this offense and actually rely on as part of a trio committee rather than, the third guy in a duo committee, so to speak. So I think he gives you more options. I feel, and this is the conspiracy that everybody asks me about every week, and you guys might all disagree, but I do feel that there are plays he will make explosive chunk plays for this offense that are in the bag right now, drawn up, that we just aren't going to see until December and January. And that's okay. That's the way that it goes. But I think that the potential is there at any touch. So I say give him more.
Who wants to go next on the Chiefs running back room? Looks like they've got a 3-headed monster now as we enter week 8.
Yeah, I'll go. Look,
the thing you see with – Go ahead. Go ahead, Darren.
Okay. No, I was just going to say that, with Brashard, and what we saw Sunday was that he has a different type of speed that even Isaiah Pacheco doesn't have. I mean, and like you said, it's so explosive that, he hits you so quick, whether he's pass catching or running the football, that, the first thing you're thinking, like, was that Isaiah? And then once you realize that was Brashard, you're like, well, damn, I see why everybody wants to get him more catches. And he gives credence to the fact that because of his play and how well he's playing, the Chiefs don't need to go trade for a Breece Hall or a different running back, because the running back room is loaded. Elijah Mitchell has been on the inactive list every game so far this season. So essentially, he has put the Chiefs and that offense, again, just with the addition of Rashee Rice coming back now, just in a space to where you really have to wonder just how good that this offense is going to be, and really how do you stop them, because they have so many different variations of wide receivers and running backs and even tight ends that it's like you pick your poison, and if you pick the wrong one, you can get burned.
JC, go ahead.
You know, I think the young kid has a lot of talent, a lot of ability. The one thing you hear about young running backs, though, especially third down backs, on why you don't see them so much is early is pass protection. He can have all the ability in the world, running the ball, catching the ball, but if he is not able to pick up the blitz and protect Pat when he's supposed to, then he's not going to be out there. So, when they are 100% confident in his blocking ability, then you'll see him all the time on third down, and then his role will really start to expand, as we're starting to see now. Obviously, he's got a lot of talent. Used to be a receiver, then he became a running back. So, used to catching the ball, used to running the ball. All those things, got a lot of speed, explosiveness. Just need to make sure that he knows what he's doing in pass protection and is able to do that, to be out on the field all the time.
JC, let me ask you, when you talk about him being on third down, would it be more so that they're just more comfortable because he's been so good at it in Kareem Hunt on third down? Because obviously depending on the yardage situation, if it's third and short, you kind of want to lean on Kareem Hunt, in case you decide to run the football, he can get the first down. Or because he's played with Pat and he's been such a good pass protector throughout his career that it's not really a matter of Rashard not being able to pass block. It's just that Kareem is just much better than he is.
In short yardage situations, absolutely. Kareem, has kind of become the goal line short yardage back, and Pacheco's got that power too. But in order to see Smith, not just on the third down packages, because we've been talking about it for a few weeks. This team is a passing team, so they're going to throw the ball first down, second down, and not only in short yardage situations. So we see Kareem out there a lot because of his pass protection and knowing what to do. And you see him a lot of times when he is out there on the field, he'll go right up to Pat and make sure he's hearing what he's supposed to hear when Pat's at the line of scrimmage. But, once they are 100% confident that Rashad can pick those things up, knows exactly what to do, we'll start to see him more and more as the season goes on first down, second down, especially when they're throwing the ball and not really thinking about running it.
Darren, you mentioned the variability of Kansas City's offense, and I think that's what Smith he's kind of a symbol of that. 8 different players with at least 14 receiving yards for the Chiefs in that win over the Raiders, tied most for a team this season. Kansas City scored 28 points in each of the last 4 weeks and have 411 total yards during that time. I think Smith has his best skills are what the other running backs lack, and his worst skills are what the other running backs have, right? Like Andy's already mentioned that he's a little light in the butt. He could probably get a little bit stronger in the offseason. But as far as pass catching, if I'm out there and if KC's in a true passing down, if they need to get yardage as far as through the air, I think he's the best running back option to do so. Ryan, I wonder what you think about what he brings to that running back room from a pass catching perspective.
Yeah, I mean, he's a weapon. You can put him out anywhere. And I particularly want to see him in some split back or some I back where you are really telling the defense, we're going to run at you, and then go split him out. Get a linebacker on him. Make his life easy. Like, I want to get cheap, easy yards to just keep rolling down. Those drives against the Raiders where they ate time and they ate play count, that's what you want. I know everybody loves, that the Patrick Mahomes is resurging and throwing for more yards, et cetera. But you want those drives to sustain. And I think the running back has to play a bigger part in that if you want to continue to keep both Pacheco and Hunt healthy, because this whole thing is just one play away from going down the drain. Because a 3-man crew with one of them being a rookie, for everything that JC just said, is just one play away from being in trouble. And so while Darren, I agree that he gives you enough, I do still think you got to be at least putting some things out there for some kind of trade target, maybe not Hall because of all the things that come with him in terms of salary and need, et cetera. But I do think Elijah Mitchell is wrapped in bubble wrap, put away somewhere in case something goes terribly wrong, right? But let's upgrade that a little bit.
The only reason I will push back on that is just because we know Andy. They just don't, they don't run they won't run the football until you strap them down and waterboard them. And so, even when it gets cold, even when it gets, snow and ice or whatever, they will still drop Patrick back. It'll be 4th and inches, and Patrick will find a way to drop back to pass or whatever. And so that's why I say that they're pretty much submitted in what they decide to do. Now, to the other point, I could. Well, let me just stick with that. Yeah. So I just don't see them. I don't see them going for another running back or anything like that because they just don't run the football, regardless of even if it makes sense.
All right. I also wanted to shine my spotlight on Luke McCaffrey. He hadn't had the sexiest game or the sexiest season, but I think he's a guy that maybe can get lost in the shuffle when we're talking about under the radar ahead of this Monday night matchup against the Commanders. They're banged up. We're recording this time of taping before we have any practice availabilities, but obviously we're monitoring what Deebo Samuel may look like and what Terry McLaurin may look like for the Washington Commanders. That's down 2 of their top pass catching options for Washington. Why not a frisky McCaffrey brother who's got 3 scores already to this point in the season? Going some of those underneath routes, going some of those deep balls. We know that Marcus Mariota does look to make the big play. He's made big plays at Arrowhead in the past. It's just something to monitor. I'm a fantasy football guy. I like to take those long shots sometimes. Maybe this is a long shot that you pencil in for your daily lineup or something like that.
Not all McCaffreys are McCaffreys. Let's be
Thank you, Ryan. Because otherwise he would be on the field a whole lot.
I was thinking how I was going to say that, but yeah, no, bro.
Now, look, I will say this, and not to get off the point about the under radar stars, but think about it. The Commanders, they do still have Von Miller. I mean, Von Miller's been playing well. He's the last 3.
Von Miller's still in the league.
Yeah, he's had, and don't forget, he's had a sack in 3 of the last 4 times that he's played Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs in Arrowhead. So, I mean, defensively, I think they still got Bobby Wagner. I think Bobby Wagner's still out there as well. I mean, so they can cause a little bit of trouble to the Chiefs offensively. I mean, I know we spent a lot of time in the opening segment talking about their offense and them missing Jayden Daniels, but I'm gonna put a little bit more respect on Washington, what they might be able to do in this game with the defense. I still think the Chiefs will cover, but it might not look as clean as it did last week against the Raiders.
There you go again. Not that you're going to win; they're going to cover. You're
I mean, they covered, and Rashee Rice had the anytime touchdown. I'm just saying. I told y'all.
I'm a Dan Quinn guy. I think that no matter who is out there, quarterback, turnover, veteran, rookie, no matter what, I think Dan Quinn is an ultimate motivator of men. And I think that he's going to try to get the best out of whoever is out there. Salute to what you were just saying there, Darren. I'm not completely like KC's going to boat race. I'm not as confident as I was last week, basically. Last week, I had no doubt in my mind Kansas City was going to win. Well, your cover, I still think KC may win, but if it's frisky late because it's a Monday night game and who knows, Marcus Mariota conjures up some late game magic once again, I wouldn't be too shocked because of the coach.
If it is frisky late, that's more questions on the Chiefs than it is the Commanders. If it's close late.
That is a good point because, and I like Dan Quinn as well. He was Dan Campbell before Dan Campbell was. So like, I like where he's coming from, but there's only so much top end you can do, especially if you're going to have to rely on pass catchers that haven't been on the field for a while, right? Like your first game back on a Monday night playing in Kansas City, that is not a recipe for success. Let's be real. So if it's close, I agree with Darren. Like if something is going terribly wrong, if it's close, come that fourth quarter.
Put it down. Luke McCaffrey, anytime touchdown. You heard it here first. When we come back, we will get some trade targets for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Don't listen to him. Listen to me, not to him.
We're having some fun here at the Chiefs Squad Show. Stick with us. The NFL season is back, and honestly, there is nothing better than being in the stadium surrounded by fans cheering on your team. But let's be honest, getting tickets can be a hassle between queues, login screens, and prices jumping at checkout. It's frustrating. That's why we use Gametime, the app that gives the advantage back to fans. Gametime is fast, easy, and backed by the Gametime guarantee. You'll always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, all fees are included. So the price you see is the price you pay. The app makes it super simple. I could even see my exact view from my seats before buying. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDO NFL NFL for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Gametime today. All right, final segment here on a midweek show, Chiefs Squad Show. Aaron Ladd joined by Ryan Tracy, Darren Smith, and JC Pearson looking ahead to this Monday night football matchup. We'll get to your questions at the end of this segment. We'll get to JC's story about him going off on another player or somebody in the midweek production at the end of this. We're talking trade deadline because it is November 4th. So as we mentioned earlier in the show, maybe you start putting some of those feelers out there. And I know y'all shot this one down, so let me just get this one out of the way early. Breece Hall, who has long been rumored associated with the Kansas City Chiefs running back room, didn't say he wants to leave New York, but maybe they have no choice. 171 receptions in his career, 75 rushes of 10 or more yards over 3.5 seasons. He is a 3-down back with some juice. Maybe Ryan, you just don't want anything to do with Breece Hall.
It's not that I don't want anything to do with him. It's just that he's going to come with injury concerns and a looming contract. You're going to get to that point. You know, obviously Isaiah Pacheco's in the situation he is because of what the contract's going to be. And in this day and age, second contract running backs are not the kind of investment you make when you have a Patrick Mahomes to pay and a Chris Jones to pay. And we're going to be talking about Trent McDuffie. So, I mean, we got a lot of things on the table. I just find it hard to see that being the thing that comes down. But I do think bolstering the room is worth exploring. I just don't know if it's going to be in Hall.
To me, Brett Veach has always been a bargain shopper. He's never a guy that wants to make investment on or something that needs to be paid once again. He's not buying a car that needs a new motor. JC, what do you think about Breece Hall, or maybe just a running back target in general?
Yeah, I don't think that they'll make a move on Breece Hall or any other running back at this time, unless there's an injury anytime soon. But I think they do a great job of addressing needs. You do still have a cap. I heard kind of through the grapevine that Tyler Lockett was in the building today and getting a workout in. Got released by.
Is that reporting? Are you reporting that? You're officially reporting that?
Hey, it's just my grapevine. So hey, you take it as you will. Now, I'm not saying they signed him. I know they worked him out. Again, is there a need at the receiver position? No, but if you can get a guy cheap, right? Don't have to give up anything for him. Whereas you would have to give up something for a guy like Breece Hall. I think if they're going to give up anything for anyone, it's probably going to be a defensive lineman.
Darren, what you think? Trade talk.
Well, as it relates to the running back again, I just fall back to the to what I talked about last week, is that you bring any running back in, again, where are they going to fit? I mean, right now we're discussing there's not enough footballs to pass around to everyone. I mean, someone like Tyquan Thornton is losing targets, with the addition of Xavier Worthy and Rashee Rice coming back in. Look, you bring in somebody like Breece Hall, they're going to want to touch the rock 20 times a game. It's just not going to happen. I mean, that is just not. With Andy Reid as a head coach and Matt Nagy as a play caller, if you had Eric Bieniemy here, I could understand, because he would be more so someone who would figure out a way to run the football and keep the attack balanced.
You miss your guy. We know you miss
I
your guy.
I do. But
yeah.
no, but hold on, but before you interrupt me again, but because due to the play calling on what we saw over the weekend, they were able to run for 152 yards. So again, why do you need to bring another running back in when you were essentially with the addition of Rashee Rice, everything was working perfectly? I mean, so to me, you gotta first show me that you can stop this offense before I need to go figure out, okay, what adjustments I need to make in the backfield or bringing in another receiver. Now that I have everybody healthy and ready to go.
I think I'm siding with our commenters. Thomas says enough with the Breece Hall talk. Go get a defensive tackle like Calais Campbell. Give a 5th or 6th for him. I also
They're
had the
not
name
going to do that. That's why, Thomas. They're not going to do that.
I also had the name Jalen Phillips written down on my pre-show list. Injuries have reduced his explosiveness and range, of course, but he can play both as an edge setter and pocket disruptor. Ryan, what do you think about D tackle? That to me seems like a more pressing need for Kansas City than, let's say, a Tyler Lockett or a running back.
Yeah, I would agree completely. I do have to say that if I'm reading it correctly, Calais Campbell can see 40 from here. I'm not ready for that on my defensive line. And I know he had a 5-pressure game this season already. I am not convinced he walks in here is able to give you particularly the pass rush snaps that you need. Now, Derek Nottie and Steve Spagnuolo will talk about this. He will lock down the run game. He will be where he's supposed to be. He will eat a double for you. He's just not going to give you pass rush. So for me, if I'm going out there and I want to add to this roster and I'm going to have to spend draft capital in particular to do it, I have to have a pass rusher that I feel can help take some of the pressure off of George Karlaftis and Chris Jones, line up right in between them and make that line shift to them. And so I just don't see Calais Campbell being one of those guys. I don't know if there's one out there, to be honest, that's going to be pried away from another team. So I don't necessarily see it happening there.
And let me jump in real quick, Aaron. The other thing is this. If the offense is putting up the points that they're doing, Patrick Mahomes, I can't remember if he told him in the locker room, if he said in the presser Sunday, he has enough trust now in his offensive line and his defense that it allows him to take those chances. They scored on their first 4 drives Sunday. Yes, it was the Raiders, but they still scored. And for him, the biggest thing is being able to put points on the board. If you're scoring at the rate that they're scoring, you really, trying to add somebody on defense is like they're going to be playing for, with the lead, so they'll be able to take more chances, and that'll allow Chris Jones and Spags and that defense to take more chances to where you can if you have to give up a touchdown, you're already up 2, 3, 4 touchdowns where you can do some things to where bringing in a new defensive lineman, unless you're in close ball games, and again, this defense is this offense averaging 31 points a game the last 4 games. I just don't see it happen. I don't see where Brett Veach, he may make an investment because, everybody does around this time period. But if he does, I don't think it's going to be for a big, I don't think it's going to be a big splash because they just may feel like they just don't need it because of because the offense is fully healthy. We're going into week number 8. All the skill position players, and I think Trey Smith is not as hurt, or his back is not as bad as they thought it was coming out of the game Sunday. They are essentially healthy going into week 8, especially all the skill positions. Really,
I don't think you can allow yourself to be blinded by the offense, though. I understand the offense is playing well. It's week 8. This is an 18-week regular season, plus we know this team is going to make a stretch run of the playoffs. I agree with you. I don't think it's a splash move. I think if Brett Veach does make a midseason move, it's for more of a depth move or a depth piece. But I don't think these guys sit back on their laurels and say,
is that going to be enough for Chiefs Kingdom? Now. Fans are dropping names.
Yeah, but they lost they lost the defensive lineman for the season last week, so it's like they do need one.
I will say this, though, if I've tracked Brett Veach's attitude about this kind of thing, those moves that we saw towards the end of training camp in Broderick Martin and Zach coming in, like they prepared to have to go to the well by putting those guys on the practice squad. I personally like Peloton, and I want to see him be elevated this week, see what he can do, and maybe they feel they can take some of those snaps. Again, it's all risk, but it is low risk at this point, and you're trying to develop them with Joe Collins to see what they can turn into. I have a feeling they're going to ride that out until the very end if they do something, but there might be another option in free agency or signing off of a practice squad as well, and that should be another low value or low risk investment.
Brett Veach can't look at his Twitter stream and make that depend on what moves he wants to make, Darren. Chiefs Kingdom's never going to be happy. They always want to see him make a swing for the fences.
Well, look, if Brett Veach spent his time worrying about what the Twitter GMs are worried about, Clark Hunt would have to find somebody else to do the job. So, thankfully, from talking to Brett Veach,
get a serviceable. You can get a guy, and give up a 5th, a 6th, or 7th round pick. which is all it's going to take, to get a guy at this point. I think you do that. We've seen them do everything that it takes to get this team where they need to be at the end of the season and give Andy all the ammunition he needs. And so, I don't think giving up a 5th, 6th, or 7th round pick, maybe even, there's been talk about one of the backup corners. They brought up a guy from the practice squad. And I think that's more or less that somebody else was trying to sign him. But, now do you throw in one of those other guys that, along with a 6th round pick or a 5th round pick, and now you can go get somebody, but, remains to be seen.
Look, I got a question for you all. This is something that Steve and I, we were discussing on the Red Hour this week, which I thought was crazy, but I'll throw it out to you all. Would you trade a Chris Jones for somebody, for another name, for, Max Crosby or someone? He said he would. I wouldn't, but
No.
Hey, I'm just putting it out there. I mean, hey, because he has 2 sacks, like somebody mentioned earlier. I'm just
harder to find pass rushing DTs than it is edges or anything else.
Hey man, that's something I told Steve. So I was just curious.
JC, before we get out of here, man, I need to hear this story. I need to hear this story.
Right.
Before we get out of here, talk about how you squared up. We got to.
No, it wasn't me, but here's how, kind of going back to how some of the coaches, hold on to information, don't want to tell you who's playing. And then if you're one of their guys, they'll give you more information. So Brad Childress was the head coach of the Minnesota Vikings, right? Mm-hmm. I'm doing Minnesota Vikings at Kansas City for Fox. So mind you, I played for Minnesota too. I finished in Minnesota, played here. He didn't know that though. So they had a quarterback issue. And I think Tavares Jackson might've been the starter then, right? Was hurt. So they all week, they didn't announce who was going to start at quarterback. So we have our meetings here in town when they come in on Saturday. And so we bring in Brooks Bollinger, the guy, I think he was from Wisconsin or something, backup quarterback. No one knew who was starting. They didn't tell anybody. So, in our meetings, we're like, well, Brooks, when did they tell you were starting? Just kind of Jedi mind trick, right? He said, I knew on Wednesday. They told me on Wednesday I was going to start, blah, blah. So we just continued with our production meeting with him. So then after that, Brad comes in, right? So we're like, Brad, well, tell us who's going to start at quarterback. Well, we're still not sure. We don't know, blah, blah, blah. And, and we're like, dude, Brooks just came in here and told us, you told him he was starting on Wednesday. So, we know he's starting. Well, I know you played for Kansas City and, I don't know what you might told, may go back and tell them. Now, if you were Troy, I've got a great relationship with Troy. So, would I tell Troy? Yeah, right. So my producer, Kurt Menefee's my play-by-play that week. So my producer just loses it, goes off. You effing MF, how dare you question his integrity and think he doesn't work for the Chiefs? Fox pays all this money so we can come in here and talk to you guys and get this information. And you MF, I mean, just MF and effing him up and down, the head coach, right? And I'm like, man, we're fired. We're done. We're getting fired, man. We're done. So anyway, Brad, yeah, I'm like, we're done. We're getting fired. You can't come in here and MF and F the head coach. So anyway, we everything settles down, whatever, and finish the meeting. We do the game. The next week, Who started a game in Minnesota.
Who started the game?
Oh, damn it.
Brooks
Bollinger. Brooks Bollinger. We already knew. He knew on Wednesday, right? So anyway, right. So that's Brad trying to play his little game that, we don't know who's starting, blah, don't tell the Chiefs, blah, blah, blah. So anyway,
Commanders need to get Brad.
MFing and you this and that. Huh?
Maybe the Commanders need to get
so
Brad.
So the next week, we've got a game in Minnesota, right? So we got to go up and talk to Brad again. So we go up and I forget who they're playing that week, but we could do our production meeting and here comes Brad. And I'm thinking, oh hell, this is going to get crazy. But anyway, it's a completely different deal. Hey, how are you guys doing? Hey, let me show you what we're going to do this week. He gets up on the whiteboard. Yeah, gets up on the whiteboard. He's drawing up plays, doing this and that, and just a whole different deal. But sometimes I guess you just got to MF them and F them up, and then they'll be your friend. But yeah, that was crazy. I thought we were getting fired after that.
We need that producer on this show.
Great stuff. Great story. We got to MF them and effing up. Maybe that's what the Chiefs will do to the Commanders this week on Monday Night Football.
Do you get all the information you need then? Yeah.
That is this week's midweek edition of the Chiefs Squad Show. We are live post-game right as the game goes 000 on Monday night. Aaron Ladd for Darren Smith, JC Pearson, Ryan Tracy. We'll catch y'all next time.